Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Top 10 players for this Virginia Tech program heading into 2024 and if you guys have been listening to us talk about the ACC, if there's one team that is lurking, that is dangerous, that not a lot of people are talking about, it's this Virginia Tech program. And one of the things that I love about this program, a lot of boxes are checked. You look at this team playing some really good football towards the end of 2023, essentially just running it back with the same exact team heading into 2024. You feel like the culture is kind of changing under Brent Pry. That's something we talked about when he took this job. Like, there were going to be a couple of years of growing pains. I think for a lot of Virginia Tech fans, you feel like you're past that stage, and Brent Pry is kind of building this program, and it is clearly going in the right direction. And I mean, as a college football fan, I'm just fired up to see Blacksburg absolutely some ruckusness at Saturday nights in Blacksburg. It's one of the best environments in college football. Really excited to get in this list. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. And it has been just an absolute blast taking deep dives into all of these programs. The amount of support you all showing the fellas, it means a lot. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And for the Virginia Tech fans, we learn a ton from you guys in the comment section. There are a lot of good players that we might be sleeping on left off this list. Let us know in the comment section, players that we are sleeping on. Let us have it. And without further ado, Dill, let's get into our top 10. Let's start with a transfer portal addition that, quite frankly, I think just went under the radar. This was a linebacker that a lot of Power 5 programs were going after in the transfer portal. Sam Brumfield coming to Virginia Tech, and I'll start with this. I think this matchup between him and Kelly Lawson, it makes so much sense. You look at Sam Brumfield, probably not the athlete that Kelly Lawson is. Not many athletes at the linebacker spot that Kelly Lawson is, but he's an experienced linebacker that knows how to pick through traffic. And when you have an experienced linebacker that can go find the ball carrier, you're letting Kelly Lawson do some other things. That is how Kelly Lawson belongs doing in this defense, coming off the edge, blitzing the A-gap, letting Kelly Lawson off the leash. You can do that a little bit more comfortably because you got a veteran linebacker in Sam Brumfield coming in.
Yeah, and I did get the sense they had some wood to chop in that linebacker room from a physicality standpoint. Again, you look at Kelly Lawson, really good playmaker. I think they were missing that guy who could just be that inside the box hammer, really, really tough guy and very experienced. And I think, again, you look at what they bring in with Sam Brumfield, it does fill that kind of need, and it allows a really, really nice pairing, as you said, between him and Lawson.
Going to number 9, we're going to talk about just 3 straight receivers: Ollie Jennings, Jalen Lane, Daquan Felton. And I kind of just tied them all around this area. All 3 players that I think we could be talking about, top 5 players on this Virginia Tech program. Let's start with Ollie Jennings, a guy that has just been super productive during his career. 147 catches, over 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns. Was largely expected to be the wide receiver 1 in this Virginia Tech offense. Goes down with an injury, I believe the first game of the season. Getting Ollie Jennings back, you saw some of these wide receivers emerge last year. Guys like Lane and Daquan Felton. You might be getting your wide receiver 1 back in Ollie Jennings.
And you add that into a really, really good wide receiver room. I think if you watch Virginia Tech and you get, Jalen Lane, his ability to work underneath, work after the catch, and make a lot of plays, I think working on that slot really, really strong. And then Daquan Felton, that ability to get over the top and make plays down the field. So, again, you're adding that kind of real dynamic number 1 into a pretty well-constructed unit as already is.
You noted it. What I love most about this wide receiver room, and this is something that we talk a lot about, having just different kind of wide receivers. You look at Ollie Jennings, he's a box checker. I think he's that true wide receiver 1 that can kind of just do everything you want a wide receiver 1 to do when he's healthy. You look at Jalen Lane, elite slot wide receiver. And this is a guy that you look at the yards after the catch, over 400 yards after the catch, really good with the football in his hand, was largely the go-to guy for Virginia Tech on those third and medium spots, 24 first down catches. And then you get into Daquan Felton, who I put him at number 8 just because I think the ceiling for Daquan Felton is awfully high. And you look at that number, 17.6 yards per catch, 72 targets that led the team, an average depth of target of 18 yards. There's just not many wide receivers that are built like Daquan Felton and that can work vertically down the field like Daquan Felton. I look at this wide receiver room, it's a lot of different bodies that can do a lot of different things. If you see that step from Kyron Jones that we're going to talk about in a little bit, I think you are fired up about what this passing attack can look like in Virginia Tech. And number 7, Dill, I'll kind of give you the floor here. Mansour Delaney, a guy that want to just kind of have a rebound year, essentially, I think you'd say, heading into 2024. A cornerback that is certainly capable of being a top 5 player on this team. What are you thinking about Mansour coming in at number 7?
I mean, I think it's fair. I think, again, it kind of was a disappointing year in a sense. And I think that obviously was in the backdrop of being a really, really good freshman, being kind of that guy you were kind of expecting to be that number 1. I think you kind of saw some other cornerbacks emerge a little bit. Canteen,
Dorian Strong is just the lead. We'll be talking about him in a second.
Those guys kind of outplayed him, it felt like, in a sense at times. And again, I think Mansour Delaney has a lot of that talent. Again, you just want to see that second year, or what should have been the second year jump. You want to see him get back to that form and play really good ball.
Totally agree. Number 6, let's talk about a running back that, Dill, upon watching some Virginia Tech games back, looking at some numbers, I think I just have a better appreciation for how good this kid was last year. I thought he was a solid back in the ACC. I didn't think it was anything special. And I kind of go back and reevaluate and say, yeah, I probably missed on that evaluation. This is a guy that went for over 800 yards, 5 yards per carry. You start getting into the in-depth numbers, 650 yards after contact, 69 missed forced tackles, and you saw him hit his stride towards the end of the season. This is a guy last 2 games, over 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. When you have a quarterback in Kyron Jones that can operate and be such a weapon with his own legs, it starts opening up some creases for the running backs. And a guy like Tootin certainly going to be taking advantage of that all 2024.
And especially in an offense that allows him to catch out of the backfield a little bit. He's got that type of acceleration that I think really does help him in that department. I think he's really good there, and they used him a lot, I felt like, in that passing attack. So again, has the physical traits you want to be that power running back, can do it down to down, but also that ability, that kind of acceleration I think you want to see guys have to be able to crack some big plays.
He's twitchy. He's bursty. I don't know if the long speed is necessarily the best in the country. This is a guy that he can get to 0 to 60 awfully quickly. And you look at that Virginia Tech offense, that is what you want your running backs doing in some of those stretch zone systems. Going to number 5, let's talk about a quarterback that, quite frankly, we could be talking about one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC come the end of 2024, Kyron Jones. And I feel like a lot of people forget this was one of the more coveted quarterbacks coming out of the high school class. You take a look at what he did. I think one thing's important to note is you saw the flashes. You probably didn't see the consistency that you wanted to see from Jones. It's important to know he wasn't the quarterback 1 heading into this season. And so he's a guy that I think just got better as the season went on. And if you're a Virginia Tech fan, what you're most excited for is, hey, what is Kyron Jones going to look like as quarterback 1? He's been quarterback 1 for the last 12 months. I think that is, in my mind, what's so exciting about Kyron Jones heading into 2024.
Yeah, I think a big part is that progression he made through this. I mean, that Rutgers game was brutal. Such a tough watch. Yeah. Making a lot of mistakes, and then you saw him clean it up. I mean, to finish that year off with only 3 interceptions and really start to look comfortable in that offense. And it's kind of a unique one, obviously. They throw a lot of tricks plays, and they make him throw on the run a lot. He's really, really good doing it. I thought got better towards the end of the year. So, again, you kind of look at the progression he made over that season and think, well, if we can carry over a little bit of that, the talent's there. He runs the ball really, really effectively. Obviously can throw from various different places on the field.
The arm talent is apparent. Like, that's not necessarily the concern with Kyron Jones. I thought you made an excellent point. I mean, this Virginia Tech offense is going to ask you to make some difficult throws and put you in some difficult spots. Kyron Jones can handle that type of stuff. And another thing to be excited for is I think there is still a long way to go for Kyron Jones. I don't think you've nearly seen him scratch the surface of what he can be as a quarterback, right? A 21% completion percentage, 20-plus yards down the field. That is about as low of a number that I've seen from these quarterbacks heading into 2024. What if that number gets up to 40%? What if he kind of dials it in, pushing the ball down the field, hitting those explosive plays? You look at what Virginia Tech wants to do. They want to run the football, force you to bring your safeties in, and they want to beat you down the field. And if you can get the Quan Feld and Kyron Jones hitting some more of those explosive plays, that's the recipe for this Virginia Tech program on the offensive side of the football, getting into the top 4. Let's talk about my guy. And I have to give the assist to the Virginia Tech fans 12 months ago. The guys who were the fans who've been rocking with the boys since the boys were just starting out. They said, hey, Kelly Lawson is a guy to keep your eye on. We go back and watch him. He said, this young linebacker is an absolute freak show. I think you've seen him take those steps consistently over the years. You look at Kelly Lawson heading into 2024, you've seen him continually get better. If he takes another step, you are looking at one of the more versatile, dangerous linebackers in the ACC.
Yeah, and obviously exceptionally dynamic. His ability to play a variety of different spots. I thought you saw him get a little bit better taking on blocks, being able to be more physical, not being a liability in that box when teams are kind of playing that inside run game, if you will. So again, he made the strides there. Obviously makes a lot of big plays, 7 TFLs, 2.5 sacks. He does fly around a lot in the way you want guys to be, like Harold Perkins. When you see him at his best, he's doing that type of thing. Kelly Lawson has a little bit of that in his game. And those are the type of plays, again, we talk about those high impact moments. He makes those for this Virginia Tech team. And I think that's one thing you're kind of looking for this team in general to take a bit of a step, is have more guys make more of those plays, change games.
Completely agree, because you look at this Virginia Tech team heading into 2024, it's solid. Like, teams are going to have to play really good football to beat them. If you're Virginia Tech and you can start manufacturing some of those game-changing plays, a guy like Kelly Lawson certainly can do that. That's kind of how you take this Virginia Tech team from being really dangerous, making teams play good football to beat them, to being a very dangerous, or I guess being a very good team in the ACC.
Winning games more consistently, where again, you're kind of like, yeah, they've been starting to hang around a little bit more in some of these games, but you kind of want to get that win plus 8, 7, 8, 9 wins a game or wins a season. You need a handful of those guys to make some of those ultra impact plays.
Talk about another impact guy, Aeneas Peebles. Very well could be the best player on this Virginia Tech team. Was phenomenal for Duke last year. Led the team with 24 quarterback hurries, and that is a stat that, 24 quarterback hurries, a 16% pass rush win rate. Dill, we've looked at a lot of interior defensive linemen. I'm not sure if I've seen those numbers from an interior defensive lineman that we've seen, right? You look at Mason Graham, Deion Walker, those are the kind of guys that are having those kind of numbers. Aeneas Peebles, it's rare to see interior defensive linemen be able to get that active in the pass rush. Aeneas Peebles is one of those rare guys that can do it.
Yeah, really good pass rusher, really good work on those stunts, just having good athleticism, being able to use his hands effectively. Just a really dynamic pass rusher, especially, again, they'll have their guys for the inside, Josh Fuga, some of these other bigger defensive tackles to play that tough interior run kind of game. But they did need probably a little bit more from that interior rushing the passer. I think you got a perfect fit with an
and a guy that can be a game wrecker, right? You have some really solid guys on the inside that can two gap, eat up double teams, let your linebackers play downhill. You didn't really have. I look at Aeneas Peebles, and I guess I should say he can be one of those game wreckers that's creating negative plays, forcing teams in those third and long situations. Again, that's how you play elite defense at the college level. Aeneas Peebles can be a guy that does that for Virginia Tech going into her top two. And Dill, you got to be pretty damn good if you're above Aeneas Peebles, at least in my mind. Dorian Strong, this kid is one of the best cornerbacks in the country. Like, looking at the numbers, watching back the film, led the team in both interceptions and pass breakups. Crazy number, 27% completion percentage when targeted. Only 33 targets. I think teams really, screw it. We're just not going to throw at Dorian Strong because it's not going to work out for us. When you have a cornerback that can erase a half of the field, super, super beneficial to running your defense. Dorian Strong, he's one of those cornerbacks.
And you can line them up wherever you want on the field. Played a fair amount of that slot nickel corner. Was really, really effective there. You saw him kind of start to emerge on the edge. I certainly think that boundary corner role. Obviously, I think that's where he's going to end up playing most of his snaps this year. But again, it just shows you that for being that long, that athletic, to be able to be sticky on wide receivers in the middle of the field on the boundary, just a really good cornerback who's, he's kind of that guy you're looking for. Just can shut down that half of the field, can play man, can do whatever you need.
Number one, Antoine Powell Ryland, a guy. I got to give you your flowers. You were watching some Florida last year around this time.
Florida, Oregon State bowl game.
And you said, hey, this Antoine Powell Ryland cat, he's flashing a little bit. It was largely a guy that didn't get on the field much for the Florida Gators, and we kind of threw him into our notebook heading into 2023. Emerged as one of the better pass rushers in the ACC, right? The numbers speak for themselves. 14.5 tackles for a loss, 9.5 sacks, 28 quarterback hurries, a 16% pass rush win rate. 19 run stops. That was third on the team. This is a guy, and it's rare to find edge rushers who are elite rushing the passer and then can hold up in the run game as well. That's what you get with Antoine Powell-Ryland, a guy that, quite frankly, I thought could have gone to the NFL draft had he wanted to. Again, coming back to Virginia Tech, I think this team knows they can do something special. And if they do, I mean, a guy like Antoine Powell-Ryland is going to be playing a big role in that.
And he has that elite explosion off the line of scrimmage that you need to be a dynamic player. But I think one thing that kind of gets overlooked with those really, really good productive defensive ends is when they have the motor to kind of match that explosiveness. Yeah. That's really, really powerful combination. Again, he's got all the talent, the twitchiness, the explosiveness you want to see, but plays with an extremely high motor. And I think that's why you see that productivity really, really high, where he's making a lot of tackles, he's getting his sacks. I think a lot of that is, again, when you plug a talented player with a ultra high motor, I think you get a guy like Powell-Ryland who's out there making a ton of plays.
So productive, plays extremely hard, kind of represents how Brent Pry wants to play defense at Virginia Tech. Still, that'll do it. Again, less supply. Like, I'm looking at my notebook here when I was putting together these slides. Like, some guys didn't make the cut. That I don't feel great about not making the cut. Would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Appreciate y'all rocking with it. If you guys do enjoy the content, again, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.